Greetings, my name is Vicky Somma, and usually I'm a visitor to the Workhouse Arts Center, but today I get to tell you about one of my pieces. I am a resident of the nearby town of Occoquan, and my hobby is 3D printing, which I've been doing about 5 or 6 years. In the last year, my oldest son has taken an interest in stitching needlepoint with plastic canvas, and that's something I used to do in high school and college. Well, as I'm teaching him how to do the needlepoint, I remembered how much I enjoyed that old hobby, and I remembered how meditative it was. And so I decided I wanted to do something to combine my current hobby of 3D printing with my old hobby of needlepoint or plastic canvas. What I decided to do was to pay homage to the great blue heron, which is a familiar face I see frequently at the Occoquan River, and I wanted it to emulate stained glass. And so what I ended up doing was I 3D printed the lead work of the stained glass. So all of the black outlines that you see in this piece were 3D printed, and they're made of plastic. And then all of the colors that you see, the blues and the greens and the yellows, all of that is hand-stitched plastic canvas panels. There's 130 of them in all. Most of my work is really small, like little Christmas ornaments or magnets. For this piece, I knew I wanted to go big, and the final piece is more than 3 feet wide. I did a lot of my design work just like I would do any 3D printing project. Here I open up the free 3D modeling software called Blender, and that's where I kind of drew out the heron that I wanted. I made some adjustments to my original design based on what I thought would be feasible and work well with the stitching. Once I figured out the shapes and the layouts of all my panels, I went ahead and translated that to what the outlines would be, the lead work. I did all the 3D printed pieces first, and then my 3D printed panels, there are 12 of them in total, they served as templates when I was cutting out my plastic canvas to do the stitching. As you may imagine, the most time-consuming part of this piece was the stitching. It took me about 9 weeks to stitch all 130 panels, and the stitching took place in a variety of locales. Might have happened while I was in the passenger seat of a car as we were going on a family trip. I did some stitching sitting in a chair waiting for my kids to do jiu-jitsu class. And I may or may not have done a couple of panels while I was on conference calls, but don't tell my boss. Once I had all the pieces done, I had to figure out how to assemble it all. I had a little bit of make it, fake it action where I made all the pieces and now I had to figure out how to get them all to stick together. What I ended up doing was assembling everything in the frame. So I got 2 sawhorses out, I put the giant frame on them, and I threw in my lead work, my 3D printed panels. And then I started placing all the plastic canvas panels. And for that, I spent a lot of time on the ground looking up at the piece, and I had a headlamp that came in quite handy. So I was constantly checking and making sure that the placement was where I wanted it. I think my absolute favorite part of this piece is all the textures. I did varying stitches for the different panels, and I really like how that ended up, just the different textures at the end result. And even though I'm very familiar with this piece, I see it all the time, even all of that, I still catch myself like just staring at it and taking in all the textures. I am really happy how this piece turned out, and I hope you like it too. If you'd like to see more of my great blue heron needlepoint stained glass or other examples of fiber arts, go ahead to workhousearts.org. Thank you for watching and have a great day.